Hey folks, it's Amy. I just wanted to update you on information management as we go forward in Chapter 3 and kind of troubleshoot a few issues that we're running into with MindTap as well, and hopefully we have some fixes. So you will begin Chapter 3. That's going to be due on February 1st. And again, these due dates will be out in Blackboard, so you can follow those. You'll click on this chapter just like you've been doing. And for this one, I'll have the video out here, or it will be in the announcements area. But what I'll tell you here is that there's a few different pieces now as we get into chapter 3. In addition to the other assignments that you've had out in MindTap, you'll have a finding test after on your simulation job. And I would print this report sheet to help you with the simulation job. So just want to walk through a few of those items. Again, I would take a look at this PowerPoint. I'm going to open this up for you in a few seconds, but this chapter is on the first 4 alphabetic rules when it comes to filing. And these rules kind of make sense, but you really got to get a handle on these. Otherwise, you're going to be behind the 8 ball from the start. So these 4 rules are very, very important. This chapter starts right here. Okay, and my advice to you would be to go through the chapter and take a look at what they mean by indexing and coding. Most of these will be either by last name, then first name, then title, or they're going to be a company name, and you're going to have to decipher that. Going forward in this course, I would use a pencil on all of your documents when you're coding and indexing so that you can get a feel for that. When you're going through the chapter, for instance, on page 39, we have Diane Rule, and one of the ladies has one N in her name, one of the ladies has a middle initial M, and one of them has 2 N's in her name. This is all going to make a difference when you index or code these files. And when you see the underline in some of these items, like you have here, what that means is that's the point of change. Okay, so it's this little box down here on the bottom of page 39. So with that, we have the first key unit. It's the last name rule for all of them. Then we get into the second key unit, okay? Then we just have Diane with one N. Then we have the Diane with M because that third unit would be the middle initial and so forth. You're going to want to go through this chapter diligently. Okay, typically, again, with names, it's going to be your last name, then your first name, then a title, middle name, you name it. If it's a business name, it is going to go from left to right. Okay, there are going to be some specifics when it comes to um, spaces. There's going to be some specifics when it comes to seeing the and symbol and etc. And as you start here again, I would underline where that point of change is. Go through the chapter and work on some of these self-check things. And that's what I've done here in MindTap for you. And we'll look at that in a few moments because that's one of the questions I have out there right now. So again, you'll see examples of them, and then you will see ones that you can work on. All right. So again, if there's spaces in between the letters of a business name, like Mac Construction, MAC, are all going to be separate units, and then construction. If it's like WITC, no spaces in there, for that acronym pushed all together, that's going to be the key unit all as one. Then it all ties back into alpha indexing. Okay, so again, I'm going to pull this over for you. And I apologize, this will be a little bit of a lengthier video. But this PowerPoint is a really good one to take a look at. Okay, she does a really good job of showing you how to index, okay, then looking at those filing segments, okay, and then you'll see here as well that when you do this, you want to underline the key unit, and then you're going to put it over the secondary and the third unit like we have here. This is really important to start getting in the habit of. If you don't get into the habit of this for your coding, you're going to have a hard time. It takes used to getting, it takes a while to get used to all of this, but I promise that it will get better the more and more that you do this. As you read through this, and again, I would start here with the PowerPoint and then follow up and skim that chapter. That will really, really assist you. Okay, I'm going to come back in here into Blackboard. Okay, next what you're going to do is you're going to go into Mind Tap and utilize these things and complete these assignments. This report sheet here, I'm going to open this up while I'm here. This is what you're going to be using for the simulation job. And I would tell you to print this and again to use this as necessary. When we get into the simulation job, you're going to have files of little records that you've indexed and coded between after each letter. The file that's closest will be the first file that you put here. Even though this table goes all the way up to the top, not every letter will have something like that. Okay, so you might have 2 after A, you might have 4 after R, S might be full all the way down to U, but that's helpful for when you're doing the rest of this. Okay, I need to get into MindTap. And now I'm looking at it as a student, and I'm just going to close this for a moment. Okay, and this was one of the questions that I had, this alphabetic indexing rules. This is some of that self check work that's going on throughout the chapter. So if you click this, okay, now it takes a while for this to load, and depending on your internet, it may take a while. You click this down arrow, and the computer should start to load it, and then you can start this assignment. Okay, when you get done with it, this is how it's going to complete it. Okay, now the order I'm not as concerned about. I'm more concerned about how you're keying these. This is how you will fill this out. Okay, I'm tabbing between those. All right, and you can see that that's what I need to do in this document. You can check your work and continue to do that. Now, I got a lot wrong because I didn't finish much of this, okay? And I won't have you do too many of these self-check things, but these first few chapters, these are critically important to do, okay? That's how you will work on that. You'll continue to go through the chapter, and this is exactly what your book looks like. And again, here are the self-checks, and you need to do those as you are going through this chapter. The chapter that you're seeing on the screen should look very similar to what you're seeing in your book. It should be a replica. Now, the minute I say that, I'll be telling you something false, but that's what it's intended to do. I'm going to close this. Okay. Now, I've had some questions on the true and false multiple choice quizzes that we've put out here for you. I'm not sure what's going on with them, but what my colleagues are doing that is opening them up for a couple of attempts so you can see the wrong answer and then you can get in there and get to the right answer. Another helpful tip is a lot of the answers to the questions are out in the PowerPoints is what we've been seeing. If you're continuing to run into issues, please let me know and I'll keep working on that. Again, this is our first time with MindTap, so I'm digging into these things and trying to find them, but it's taken me a little bit longer than I would like. All right, again, you're going to go through all of these items, and then you're going to get into the project one. And this, if you haven't used SAM before with other software classes, you're going to be staying in here and doing your access work. So I'm going to click on that. And this is what you'll do. This will tell you that it's a customer database, application 3-3. This should be in the back of that chapter. Excuse me. Okay, and so this is what it would look like if you're doing it in the book, and there would be files and etc. Okay. This is where you're going to download the instructions. Make sure that you use the starter file, save it the way that they tell you to save it, and you'll follow along with this. And this is where you'll be using Microsoft Access to complete the database portion of this electronically. It should give you hints and tips, and all should be well. If we're running into problems with this, I'm happy to walk you through. All right, next what you're going to get into is the simulation packet. and this takes a little getting used to. This is